2025 Garden Upcycle Revolution. 22 brilliant garden ideas to transform your home with upcycled magic. Hello, dear friends of earthly delights. If you've ever looked at an old teapot, a broken chair, or even a rusted ladder and thought, could this be something more? Then this video was made just for you. You're not just someone who waters plants, you're a nurturer of life. A quiet artist who sees beauty in chipped paint, fallen leaves, and forgotten corners. Whether you live in an apartment, a townhouse, or a home with a backyard full of buzzing bees, I know one thing for sure. You crave spaces that feel alive, soulful, green, and filled with meaning. In this special journey, we'll explore 22 brilliant ideas that will help you turn simple, discarded items into breathtaking garden features and lush indoor plant havens. These aren't just DIYs, they're tiny acts of transformation that reconnect us to nature, creativity, and peace. So grab a cozy drink, settle in, and don't forget to subscribe to Earthly Delights so you never miss the next bloom of inspiration. Let's reimagine your garden together. Part 1. Furniture with a story, reinventing comfort. Let's begin with something close to home, comfort. Not just the kind you sink into after a long day, but the quiet, soulful kind that comes from creating beauty with your own hands. If you've got an old wooden pallet leaning in the garage, or a forgotten stool gathering dust in the corner, don't toss them just yet. In 2025, garden comfort isn't bought, it's built. A worn-out door can become a rustic garden bench with just a little sanding and imagination. An old stool, paired with a coat of cheerful paint and a cozy cushion, can turn into a perfect resting nook for your balcony or backyard. These aren't just furniture pieces, they're chapters in your garden's story. And here's the magic. You don't need to be a carpenter. A simple pallet can be transformed into a daybed with soft earth-tone cushions. Let plants drape over the sides, let the wind kiss your skin as you rest. Suddenly, you've created a retreat that holds more meaning than anything store-bought ever could. You see, for people like us, the ones who talk to our plants and notice the angle of sunlight, these little projects aren't chores. They're healing, they're intimate, and they remind us that beauty isn't something we find, it's something we create. Now, are you ready to give your plants a home with a story? Let's move on to the next idea, and it just might be sitting on your kitchen shelf. Part 2. Planters with past lives. Now let's talk about containers, not the sleek ones from garden stores, but the soulful ones hiding right under your nose. If you're someone who feels a little spark of joy when rescuing an old object, this part will speak to your heart. Imagine an old teapot, no longer fit for tea, now overflowing with fresh mint. Or a pair of weathered boots by the doorstep, gently cradling trailing ivy. These aren't just decorations, they're tiny celebrations of second chances. And isn't that what gardening is all about? For those of you who love adding personal flair to your space, upcycled planters are pure gold. A cracked ceramic bowl, a chipped mug from your college days, even a rusty toolbox can become a new home for succulents or herbs. Each planter tells a story, not just of the plant growing inside, but of the memories attached to the object itself. What I love most is how these small touches instantly make your space feel more alive, more you. A garden filled with repurposed planters doesn't just impress guests, it speaks. It says, this gardener sees potential in everything. And the best part? These quirky containers spark joy, reduce waste, and make your indoor or outdoor garden feel like a living scrapbook of your life. So before you throw out that old kettle or cracked bowl, pause for a moment. Your next great planter might already be waiting in your kitchen cabinet, ready to see what else we can transform with just a touch of imagination. Let's climb a little higher, quite literally, in the next section. Part 3. Vertical magic, ladders, bookshelves, and hidden space. Now, let's look up, because when you're short on space, going vertical isn't just smart, it's a game changer. Whether you're tending to a small balcony, a patio corner, or even a sunny wall indoors, vertical gardening brings new dimension to your green haven. And here's the secret. You don't need fancy shelves or custom units. An old wooden ladder, weathered by time, suddenly becomes a tiered herb garden. A broken bookshelf can find a second life stacked with cascading pothos or rows of vibrant petunias. Even a discarded shoe organizer, yes, the kind you hang on a door, can become a clever pocket planter for lettuces, strawberries, or fragrant herbs. This isn't just about saving space. It's about creating a living wall, a piece of breathing art that turns heads and heals hearts. For those of us who see gardening as both therapy and design, vertical planting is the perfect blend of practicality and poetry. And what I adore most? These structures grow with you. You can rearrange, add levels, shift containers around as your plants grow, your tastes change, or your imagination takes over. Every wall becomes a canvas. So if you've been waiting for a sign to start that wall garden, this is it. Just look around your home. The next great vertical piece might already be leaning quietly in the corner. Ready to bring in some movement and magic? Let's explore the calming dance of water in the next idea. Part 4. Water Whispers. Upcycled Piece in Motion. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine it. The gentle sound of trickling water echoing softly through your garden or indoor sanctuary. It's soothing, isn't it? In 2025, one of the most soul-nourishing trends in garden design is bringing water back into our lives. Not through expensive installations, but by repurposing what we already have. An old ceramic sink can become a charming bird bath, inviting nature's guests to sip and splash. A cracked urn, once forgotten, can be reborn as a cascading fountain. With just a small submersible pump and a dash of creativity, you can create your own oasis of movement and sound. And the possibilities? Limitless. I've seen vintage teapots turned into gentle water features, mismatched kitchen bowls stacked to form a miniature waterfall, and even repurposed rice cookers bubbling quietly in a shady corner of the garden. These projects don't just look magical, they feel magical. For those of you who cherish both function and tranquility, these water features offer more than ambiance. They invite bees, butterflies, and birds to your space, turning your garden into a living ecosystem. Indoors, the soft sound brings calm into busy days, grounding you like only nature can. So next time you hold a broken basin or cracked pot in your hands, don't toss it. Ask yourself, what could this become, with just a whisper of water and a breath of imagination? Now let's step into the world of structure, where forgotten frames can become the soul of your sanctuary. Part 5. Structures that guide the eye and spirit. Every garden needs a rhythm, a flow, not just of light and water, but of movement, of emotion. And sometimes it's the structures we build that guide us through that journey. In 2025, gardeners around the world are rethinking trellises, arches, and entryways by breathing new life into forgotten pieces of the past. Take a moment to picture this. A climbing rose weaving its way up the iron frame of an old bed, now standing proudly as a floral archway. Or weathered wooden shutters, once attached to a crumbling farmhouse, now reborn as a rustic garden gate that leads you into your private green world. These aren't just supports for plants, they're invitations. They whisper, "Come in. There's something special waiting." What's beautiful about these upcycled elements is that they're not perfect, and they don't need to be. Their flaws are their character. The chipped paint, the rusted edges, the uneven slats, each tells a story of a life before the garden. And when paired with the soft touch of leaves and flowers, they create harmony that no store-bought archway could ever match. For the gardener who feels deeply, who sees meaning in texture, memory, and color, this kind of repurposing becomes a spiritual practice. You're not just constructing shapes, you're framing the soul of your space. So as we move forward, keep an open eye for the frames in your life, both literal and metaphorical. Because what once held a window might soon hold a vine, and what once marked a boundary may now guide you home. Now, let's take that creativity a step further and turn raw metal into garden magic. Part 6. Garden art from the unexpected. Some gardens bloom with color, others bloom with creativity. And if you've ever picked up a piece of scrap metal and felt a flicker of inspiration, you're already part of a quiet revolution happening in backyards and balconies everywhere. In 2025, repurposed metal isn't just useful, it's beautiful. What once was a rusted wrench, a bent spoon, or a discarded bicycle chain is now turning into art that dances with the wind and glints beneath the sun. Imagine a hummingbird sculpture made entirely from old garden shears, or a butterfly crafted from tangled wire and broken kitchen tools, sitting proudly among the lavender or resting atop a stone wall. This isn't about perfection. In fact, the charm lies in the flaws, the uneven edges, the faded colors, the echo of their past life. Each piece becomes a symbol of transformation, not only of the object, but of the gardener too. Because when we choose to create rather than consume, to reshape rather than replace, we become artists of the earth. And these metallic creations don't just add flair. Over time, they weather with grace. Rain gives them patina, sun brings out new tones, and the wind hums through them like whispers of time. Every season adds a brushstroke. So the next time you pass a broken tool or a forgotten piece of hardware, pause. Hold it in your hand and ask, what story could this tell among my tomatoes or beside my philodendrons? Because sometimes the most breathtaking part of your garden isn't the flower. It's the sculpture hidden beside it. Let's keep this creativity flowing, because next, we're about to light up your garden in ways you've never imagined. Part 7. Lighting with Memory and Mood. There's something magical that happens when the sun sets and your garden begins to glow, not with artificial glare, but with gentle, thoughtful light. And in 2025, that light is coming from the most unexpected places. A simple mason jar, once filled with jam, now twinkles like a fairy lantern hanging from a branch. An antique chandelier, rescued from a dusty attic, sparkles again beneath a pergola wrapped in vines. Even tin cans, with carefully punched holes, can cast starlit shadows across your garden path, turning the ordinary into the unforgettable. For those of us who see gardening as an extension of ourselves, lighting isn't just functional, it's emotional. It tells our story long after the sun has gone down. It sets the tone for late-night tea on the porch, quiet reflections beside your potted rosemary, or laughter with loved ones under a soft golden glow. And the best part? It's sustainable. With solar-powered LEDs, you can turn nearly anything, old lamp bases, glass bottles, wire baskets, into elegant and energy-efficient lighting. You're not only reducing waste, but creating ambiance that feels personal and timeless. So take a walk through your home with new eyes. That dusty wine bottle, that metal colander, that forgotten bedside lamp, they're not done yet. They're waiting to light the way, to transform your evenings, and to add that final touch of magic to your sacred green space. Now that we've lit the night, it's time to look down, to the borders that shape your garden's flow and give every step a story. Let's dig into that next. Part 8. Borders that Delight. As every artist knows, a masterpiece needs a frame. And your garden, whether a balcony nook or a full backyard canvas, deserves that same care. Not to contain it, but to celebrate its flow. In 2025, borders are becoming more than just practical. They're becoming poetic. Picture this: old glass bottles, turned upside down and placed side by side, catching the morning light as they define the edge of a flower bed. Or a patchwork of mismatched tiles, rescued from renovation scraps, now forming a winding mosaic path. Even salvaged bricks, worn with time, can be stacked with purpose to create natural, earthy dividers between herbs and flowers. These upcycled borders do more than organize space. They spark conversation. They tell visitors, here's a gardener who sees beauty in what others overlook. And for those of us who love bringing stories into the soil, every chipped plate or sun-faded piece of wood becomes a chapter in our outdoor journal. They also serve a gentle purpose, preventing erosion, protecting roots, and guiding the eye through your garden like a well-written paragraph guides a reader. They add rhythm to your space, and with each object chosen, you add personality to your plot, making it unmistakably yours. So before you buy another roll of plastic edging, take a look in your garage or local thrift store. That forgotten stack of DVDs, that bent bike tire, they might be the perfect twist your garden path has been waiting for. We've shaped the ground. Now let's return to where we rest and reinvent what it means to sit among the green. Part 9. Comfort Corner Seating. Every gardener deserves a place to pause, a moment to sip tea, feel the breeze, and admire the life they've nurtured. But in 2025, that moment doesn't require expensive patio sets or store-bought benches. It begins with a little imagination and a willingness to see comfort where others see clutter. Take, for instance, an old clawfoot bathtub. Once destined for the landfill, now transformed into a cozy garden lounger with a few cushions and a coat of vibrant paint. Or a pair of wooden crates, stacked and fastened together, becoming a rustic bench tucked beneath the shade of a climbing vine. Even a forgotten filing cabinet, laid on its side and topped with a salvaged plank, can turn into a surprisingly stylish and sturdy seat. For those of us who treat our gardens as extensions of our hearts, these seating areas are more than functional. They become sacred spaces, places where we reflect, dream, and reconnect with the earth. They whisper, "Rest here, you've grown something beautiful." And the beauty of upcycled seating is that no two pieces are ever the same. They're layered with stories, textures, and history. And when you sit on them, you're literally surrounded by the echoes of renewal. So the next time you're tempted to toss out that creaky chair or that dented metal frame, pause. With a little vision and a lot of heart, it might just become your favorite corner of peace. And now, let's turn toward the tools we once used to dig and plant, and discover how they can live on as silent storytellers in our garden sanctuary. Part 10, Tool Tales, rusty but radiant. There's something deeply poetic about a tool worn by time. The wooden handle smooth from years of work, the rusted metal shaped by sun and soil. In 2025, these pieces are no longer discarded. They're honored, reborn as storytellers woven into the very fabric of our gardens. Picture a broken rake, once used to gather golden autumn leaves, now proudly mounted on a fence and holding garden keys or hanging herbs. A shovel head, too dull to dig, becomes a whimsical signpost pointing to your favorite flower beds. Even a battered watering can, long past its prime, can cradle blooms beside a garden bench, reminding you of seasons past. These tools carry more than function. They carry memory. And for those of us who garden not just with our hands but with our hearts, they remind us that age does not erase worth. It deepens it. Every dent, every scratch tells a story of effort, of nurturing, of time spent close to the earth. And when placed with intention, these upcycled tools become rustic decor that adds warmth and depth to your green space. They speak of tradition, of doing more with less, and of honoring the rhythm of nature rather than racing against it. So take a walk through your shed or flea market with new eyes. What you once labeled as junk might be your garden's next treasure. Not for what it does, but for the quiet, grounding beauty it brings. And speaking of beauty in unexpected places, let's step inside, because even your indoor spaces are ready for a little upcycled plant magic. Part 11, Indoor Magic, bringing upcycling inside. Not all gardens grow beneath the sky. Some thrive quietly by the window, on shelves, or tucked into cozy corners of our homes. And for those of us who find peace in tending to green life indoors, the joy of upcycling doesn't stop at the doorstep. It simply changes form. Think about that chipped teacup tucked away at the back of your cupboard, or the kitchen colander with one broken handle. These aren't just leftovers, they're potential. That teacup can cradle a cheerful cactus. The colander, with a bit of twine, becomes a charming hanging planter, letting pothos vines spill gently over its edges. Even an old desk drawer, painted and mounted, transforms into a wall garden perfect for ferns or herbs. When you garden indoors, every detail matters. The container becomes part of the mood, the feeling of the room. And when those containers carry stories, from your childhood home, a flea market adventure, or a family heirloom, they do more than decorate, they connect. What's wonderful is that upcycled indoor gardening is perfect for beginners and apartment dwellers alike. You don't need a yard, you just need a windowsill, a little creativity, and the willingness to look at objects with new eyes. So before you buy another plain plastic pot, take a moment. What's hiding in your kitchen, your attic, or even your recycling bin that could become something beautiful, green, and alive? Let's keep the spirit of wonder alive, because next, we'll explore how even children, with their wide eyes and tiny hands, can take part in this creative upcycled gardening journey. Part 12, Kitty Creations, Gardening with Imagination. There's something magical about gardening through a child's eyes. Every seed is a mystery, every worm a wonder, and every patch of soil a story waiting to be told. And when you bring upcycling into the mix, you're not just teaching kids to garden, you're teaching them to imagine, to create, and to care. In 2025, more families are turning old toys and forgotten items into miniature garden worlds where little hands can explore freely. That plastic toy truck, buried in the toy box, it's now a rolling planter for strawberries. An outgrown dollhouse, it transforms into a whimsical fairy garden, complete with moss floors and tiny flower beds. Even old rain boots, too small for growing feet, make the perfect pots for sunflowers that will one day tower above them. These projects aren't just cute. They're powerful. They teach children that nature and creativity go hand in hand, and that what's old can always become something new again. And for those of us who garden as a way of passing on love, these moments become memories that stick. The joy on a child's face when their tiny garden blooms, it's a kind of magic you can't buy. And when that joy is rooted in repurposing, in caring for the planet while nurturing something living, it plants values that grow far beyond the soil. So gather up those toy dinosaurs, paint the tin cans in every color of the rainbow, and give your little ones a trowel and a dream. Their garden may be small, but their imagination, and the lesson, is boundless. Up next, we'll shift gears and get a little more organized, exploring how upcycled shelving and storage can bring beauty and order to your gardening life. Part 13, Garden Shelving and DIY Storage Hacks. Even the most creative gardens need a little order. And for those of us who juggle pots, tools, seeds, and dreams all at once, smart storage isn't just helpful, it's essential. Luckily, in 2025, garden shelving has taken a wonderfully resourceful turn. That old shoe rack you nearly tossed, it's now a vertical seedling station. A discarded dish drying rack becomes the perfect holder for garden gloves and twine. Even a stack of wire baskets mounted on a wooden frame transforms into a rustic wall display for your tools and tiny pots. These simple upcycled ideas don't just clear clutter, they make your space more inspiring. Because when every item has a place and every shelf tells a story, your garden becomes a living reflection of balance and beauty. And let's be honest, there's something incredibly satisfying about turning chaos into calm using things you already own. So before you buy another plastic bin, look around. Your next great storage solution might already be part of your past. Now, as we come to the final stretch, let's reflect on how all these pieces come together, in light, color, texture, and purpose, to create a garden that is as personal as it is beautiful. Let nature in, let peace grow. And now here we are, standing in the heart of a garden built not from trends or price tags, but from memory, creativity, and heart. Each teacup planter, each bottle-lit path, each rusted rake repurposed into something new. It all adds up to something far greater than decor. It becomes a reflection of who you are. You see, this is what it means to garden with intention, to honor what you already have, to breathe life into forgotten things, and to craft a space that doesn't just grow plants, it grows peace, joy, and connection. For those of us who find calm in the soil, who feel deeply connected to the green life we nurture, this journey is about more than sustainability. It's about transformation of our spaces, our habits, even our spirits. So as you take these ideas and walk back into your garden, remember this. It's not about having more. It's about seeing more, feeling more, creating more from less. And if today's journey sparked even one small idea in your heart, I invite you to stay with us. Subscribe to Earthly Delights, share your creations, and together, let's keep growing a world where nothing and no one goes to waste.